Hello, my name is Melina Reyes-Cabrera for Spot 127. Today, we want to discuss the ongoing school threats experienced by students throughout the United States. In multiple cases, these attacks could have been resolved by students going to administration and addressing their concerns, but to what risk? I'm joined here today with Tate Peterson.
Hello.
Lacey Schaumloeffel.
Hi.
And Yvonne Moreira-Andrade. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for being here. And to begin, have you ever had an experience at school where you felt unsafe?
I have not.
I have.
I also have.
Would you like to discuss the circumstances surrounding that?
Whenever there's a potential school threat or a safety issue at our school, they get police involved and they increase security pretty quickly around the incident.
Well, Tate and I both go to the same school, so we experienced this at the same time. And there was a kid at our school who was known for saying really inappropriate things about school shootings, like rape, sexist stuff, and it was just like this whole crazy thing. And he said something about shooting up our school, and somebody decided to take it to administration and tell the principal, we don't feel safe. And then this whole thing, it became like a huge deal, and it essentially just kind of blew up in administration's face because they brought in a bunch of people to testify. They asked a lot of people questions about the whole incident, and then rumors started that he was actively threatening to shoot up our school, and it was just this huge mess. Towards the end, our principal talked to us, and she had this huge conversation to us about how we should have thought about his future and his life before saying anything, and how it was kind of our fault this happened and that blew up because we waited so long to say something.
I'm sorry you had to go through that. When you say he was making all these disgusting comments about all kinds of things, how long had it been going on before it was taken to administration?
For me, my school handles things within 24 to 48 hours because students are involved.
For this incident, there were so many, there was so much interviews with other students taken about what the student was doing and saying that it probably took about a week, maybe a little less than a week, before anything was really done about it.
Have you guys ever experienced something yourselves that made you want to report anything to administration?
Yes, but it had already been reported, therefore I didn't need to report it.
Yeah, there had been before. The incidents that me and Yvonne are referring to that happened at our school in particular was a school shooting threat that he made, and that was not the first time I've ever wanted to report something. For example, me personally, I did see him earlier in the year before, freshman year, at the end of freshman year. He had a homemade taser, and at the time he was using it, and it did work. It made sparks, and he was kind of jolting it at people. But at the time I didn't want to say anything because I had my biggest fear was that it wouldn't be taken seriously, and that even if I did say something, I'd just kind of out myself and put myself in almost danger to this kid. What would he do to me? Would he get mad if I reported something? And so I really didn't want that to happen. And then that kind of fear I had originally was kind of enforced by what happened with the school shooting event, because ultimately that was kind of blamed on us instead of him, and it wasn't really taken seriously. At least many students didn't feel it was taken seriously by staff at all. So
I'm sorry you had to experience that, and a lot of it has to do with perspective and if you've been targeted and if you haven't, and a lot of students across the United States have experienced these things. So how do you think the situation should be handled in your school and in multiple different schools? Like Lacey, you said your school brings in the police and increases security, but if you were in their shoes, what would you do?
I would, I would try to encourage other students to speak up, because I know it's like a hard thing to do, but even if you, it's rather, in my opinion, to be safe than sorry, because safety is a main concern.
And then what would you guys?
I would say the only problem I really saw, like it did get taken in administration, but it was just kind of like because we are such a small school and those kinds of things hadn't really happened, it was taken a lot less seriously than I think it should have, and it was taken kind of like a should we believe them kind of a thing, and that's why it took so long. Like Tate was saying, they were interviewing so many people just to make sure that it was true and just to make sure that we weren't lying for some reason. So I would just say the only thing that would have been different is just believe us. Like that would have been the easiest way and avoided so many complications.
Yeah, like we're just looking for like support from administration, because there's nothing, like there's not a worse feeling than like you knowing something and then saying it and someone just not, like bluntly not really believing you or respecting what you believe. So it's really like not a good thing to go through for students.
And during this time, especially with our current government, what is something that you would like to see change in?
I would like to see students be more more spoken and vocal about the situations, even though it's hard, but it will benefit them in the long run and inspire other students around the world to speak up.
Yvonne?
I'd agree with Lacey. The only thing, well, obviously not the only thing, but it's like how you brought up in our government today. I think it would just be a lot more speaking up and a lot more taking these threats seriously, because I feel like that is one of the biggest issues, is that we hear about it, but because it's not close, it doesn't hit close to home, we don't take it seriously.
Yeah, and then bringing it back to perspective, like all students want right now is to be like taken seriously, especially like just being teenagers. You're already surrounded by so much stress, and you have to do clubs after school and you have to go home and do chores, and then when you don't feel safe doing one of the things you spend the most time doing, like it's kind of this situation where you just can't escape, and we just want support. A special thank you to Yvonne, Tate, and Lacey for joining me here today for this episode of Spotcast. I'm Melina Reyes for Spot 127.